Shabik. So we touched upon this point during one of the panel discussions or presentations in the morning, and I think every education event in the country touches upon this aspect of industry academia collaboration and why we still lack this collaboration to the extent of which happens in many of the developed countries. So, to explore an old topic, but perhaps in a new way, and perhaps in a changing paradigm, looking at newer challenges, we have an illustrious set of panelists to discuss this. And it's my pleasure to call on stage the panelists one by one. Dr. Madhu Chitkara, Pro-Chancellor of Chitkara University. Dr. Kuldeep Kumar Raina, Vice-Chancellor, MS Ramaiah, University of Applied Sciences, Bengaluru. Professor Srikanta Murthy, Vice-Chancellor, Sri Satya Sai University for Human Excellence. Dr. P. Balakrishna Shetty, Vice-Chancellor, Sri Siddhartha Academy of Higher Education, Tumkur. And Mr. R. Janardhan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Dayanand Sagar University, Bengaluru. Great. So, I will start with Dr. Madhu. And the very fundamental question, why do we see a lack, say, let's compare to the Ivy League colleges or the universities, the way there are industry academia collaboration there, often they will have labs and center of excellences which are funded by industry. I know a lot of Indian universities too are following that model, but still, why do you think the Indian universities have still not reached to that extent in this collaboration? And there are two stakeholders here, the industry and academia. So where do you think both these stakeholders are lacking? What is really lacking that why it's not happening? Dr. Madhu.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. I think this is a session where we all will have a great challenge because after lunch. But this is I think, very appropriate platform to talk about industry-academia interface. You are comparing Ivy League universities with Indian universities. If you see the standing there, maybe some are 500 years old, Ivy League, some are. So you see the span of their existence. First thing is this, that our industry and our academia both have not matured that much that mm, they have a connection with each other. What is the reason behind it is maybe is fault at the place of our academia, that we are not talking to the industry as they are. Uh, I went to one of the Ivy League university and I visited and I just asked the dean of the university and I said that, how you are doing it? They said that we have to create 3 months salary from the consultancy from industry, because 9 months salary is given by the university, but other 3 months we all together have to work with the industry to create that fund, that money for that. But in India, we can't do that. Reason being that the industry still, I'm not blaming industry, maybe it is our fault also. But for that, we are very lucky that in the national education policy, and just now there is a mandate that we can have professor of practice from industry. So those who are working in the industry, they can come to the universities and the colleges and they can teach there. So now in that way, if we start doing that, and we have, I think all of us have started doing it. So if they are coming to the academia and they're just seeing that where are the gaps. So I think that will be a good step if we both work together to to collaborate with each other, I think then that we can do something.
Thanks. Very two interesting points. One of the challenges you mentioned that both the sides have not matured in the Indian, and you gave the example that some of the Ivy League universities or some other universities in developed countries, their longevity is much more than the Indian. While that is true, but having said that, specifically if we take about the technology industry in India, that is now fairly matured. So yes, and very interesting example to mitigate one of the ways to mitigate the challenge that you mentioned, that 3 months salary funded by the industry. That's also a very interesting point. Dr. Raina, I'll pose the same question to you. And again, according to you, the challenges that is holding back the collaboration to that extent. Yes, NEP conceives certain mechanisms to handle this. There are things beginning to move, but still it's not to that serious level extent. So, is it a lack of intention from both the sides, or what are your opinion on that?
Thank you very much. Wonderful question indeed. I appreciate and thank APC that on the fifth Global Education Summit you are inviting wonderful people to have open, frank, and fair discussions on a theme which is industry academia collaboration, identifying the next milestones. You see, this topic has been talked about on various fora. I did deliver certain webinars, had interactions at diverse fora. AICT came with a couple of models how to enhance the industry academia interface. But every time we met, probably ball did not roll the way we expected it to. There were certain inertial forces. Hard to tell that what these inertial forces were. I think it is the human nature that we have been talking in this country is chalta hai approach, hoga. What Dr. Chitkara made a mention that there has to be an interest from both the sides. I would say and vindicate that it's a fact, but there have been interest from both the sides at certain points of time, but it did not mature the way we expected it to be. We always looked at the global models and trying to copy them to put in the Indian scenario without looking at the ramifications, the hard tasks that it needs to, whether it was from the promoters of both corporate as well as the academia, but there were concerns. I'm in academia for the last nearly 37 years now and worked in some of the premier institutions where we started the cooperative program way back in the year 1985. It was a model in which even the University of Waterloo still works on. Have a 5-year program, 1 year in industry. I still know I taught students in that program. They did really very well. But somehow, I think we went back to the old model and started looking at the integrated programs. So we did not take industry perhaps very seriously, and academia, industry also did not look at us as coming with the forthright that we'll solve a problem. So problem solution has to come from the academic institutions and the people like us. But what are those problems? How many industries in this country are open to discussing the collaborative problems where academia can find a solution? I would say past is gone. But when we look at setting the new milestones, the next milestones, I think NEP has provided great opportunities for each one of us today. We already started looking at and approved in our own academic council the 3 internships. Internship at one point of time was considered, I have to go to industry. What you do, whether you know it or whether you don't know, but you still get 6 weeks internship, 8 weeks internship. Now, the new format that we are creating is there will be 3 internships and 1 internship is going to be of a semester. A practice school concept came from one of the very, very premier institutions in our country. I think that is a success of those things. Second is, who will identify the problem? For that, at our Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, we initiated a program like Industry Associate Programs. It's an industry academia program, wherein we have opened up ourselves to send our faculty on sabbatical to various corporates, not only in Bengaluru, but across the countries. And I think if the opportunities come, we may send them to the global organizations too, to spend 6 months, 1 year there. Otherwise, what was written way back in the textbook, we only disseminate the knowledge. I think there has to be a kind of a creativity. It can happen if both the stakeholders, the student, the faculty, the society, the corporates can come on a platform where we should have an open discussion, deliberation, and can be taken forward. I see many great opportunities coming, and unless and until the first or the second student comes out of the NEP program as a brand ambassador of this initiation, which has been taken by the government of India, and our government in the state of Karnataka has taken a great decision in its implementation. So I do hope and believe that tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday. Thank you.
Welcome. So, two interesting points on which I would like the next speakers to elaborate. One is you mentioned about the internship. So let's take this up first with Professor Murthy. This internship, there is it would have been better if there was one person from the industry also there, but the one general observation has been the level of seriousness which this internship thing is given. On paper, there is an internship a certain semester or for a certain duration, but what we have seen is often it's just something to be ticked off. Uh, Normally, the industry also doesn't put the student on a very serious kind of job role which involves real industry interaction. It's more just a okay, ho gaya, the internship. So, and from the academia side also, there is perhaps not okay, it's ticked off. So, how do you ensure that when the while internship happens, it happens seriously and it happens which is of relevance really, so that the student, he or she is imparted with serious skills which are practical and relevant for today's working life?
Good afternoon to everyone. At the outset, I thank the organizers for inviting me to share my thoughts. See, this internship word has become just a word at all. Because if you look at the time duration given to the internship is very, very less. Even though ACT has come forward to give this much of weeks of internship from this semester to that semester, but actually the universities or autonomous colleges or any other, if you look at the colleges, they are not giving such time to the students. They say 1 month, 1.5 months. And look at the syllabus also. The syllabus normally changes once in 4 years. Maybe in industry, 4 times in a year, they may change the technology. So technology will not reach the students and even faculty. Faculty are not equipped with the latest technology. So they are not able to give or expose the students to the latest technology. And industry will not have time to train the student for that technology. They want the industry-ready students. So there should be some means so that myself, when I was in Nagarjuna College of Engineering as a principal, we had given an industry to develop and deliver and assess the curriculum completely. That means 3rd semester 1 subject, 4th semester 1 subject, 5th, 6th, 7th. And at the 8th semester, we are not having any subject to the student. The whole semester, 6 months, student can work on the same industry. So the industry personnel came to the college, taught them, and gave them the exposure to the knowledge, technology, what they are working on. And those who qualified, they have taken them the internship, and those who passed out, they told we will give the job also. Now what is happening is internship is given to the students. Students will be going there in the industry, studying some language or do something and come back with a certificate. That certificate will not give the skill set. This is just an experience.
Okay.
So industries has to come forward to give the internship. At the same time, university also should provide sufficient time for the students to take up the work. Unless that is done, the mere teaching of syllabus will not equip any student, and without skilled student cannot perform well in the industry.
Exactly.
So in that case, the relationship between the government, the industry, and the institution, we call it as Samaj, Sarkar, and Samstha. All these three should join hands sufficiently to, because the university should come forward to give sufficient time. The government also should help the universities to in funding real-time projects and real-world problems, and the industry should equip with the technology transform and provide good platforms. Definitely, that will work out for the benefit of the students. That's my
Okay.
thank you very
Thanks.
much.
So you brought forward the government perspective, but perhaps here I would say, okay, while I agree to that, but certain extent bringing government in
No,
everything.
this is in addition to madam's. This is where we are lacking. The
Okay.
government is not investing much money in the research and development.
Okay.
So that has to happen.
Yes, the research and development part will be Dr. Shetty. I'll come to you next with the one point which was earlier raised by Dr. Raina and reiterated by Professor Murthy also about the faculty. The faculty themselves are not sometimes conversant with the very updated, relevant skill sets which industry is following now. So, one, what are the measures that can be done to change that scenario? Because otherwise, ultimately, what they will teach. That is one part of it, and the little bit extension of that I would ask is while making that relevant, but how are universities looking at redesigning the curricula which focuses more on experiential kind of learning or practical kind of mode, which gives hands on teaching, whereas that this by rote learning we do still lays more emphasis on the theoretical aspects. So, what's your opinion?
Yes, yes. The theoretical aspect, I'll tell you, I'll little go extreme on these aspects. Let's say industry, academia, collaboration. As long as we talk about industry, academia, collaboration, it will remain as industry, academia, collaboration only. It will not go further. I would like to say it is only industry. There is no academia. Okay. Now today, after COVID, where my students are learning the subject, they are not learning anything within the four concrete halls. They are learning everything outside the classroom. So if my student is digitally equipped and my student is learning everything outside the classroom, I will tell you, if you have the mind to have the industry academic collaboration, and if our engineering students are not getting any of the skills because of the classroom teaching, we need to take some very, very strong steps for the students to get equipped with the industry. I would like to say it is only industry. I'll give an analogy. Like since I'm a doctor, how do we start a medical college? We don't start a medical college at all. We start a hospital first. We start a hospital, and the hospital should run for 3 years. Then only Srikanta Murthy also knows, because they're starting a new hospital in Sai University. So you start a hospital. Then you start the hospital, you have the patients. Once you develop the patients, then only you get a license to start a medical college, number one. But here, what is happening? Here, you just enter into the engineering college, you just learn, you just do some projects inside the engineering college. You don't have any skills, and the industry will not accept you as long as you do not have any industrial skills. So if you have got a hospital, then again, we learn only for 1 year. Our students after 12th standard, they learn only the basic science only for 1 year. Immediately after 1 year, they are into the hospital. They are trained in the hospital. I'll tell you, today industry is scared our students handling their industry, their equipment. I'll tell you, which is the biggest computer in the world today? The biggest computer is the human brain. The human body is the biggest industry. So after 12 plus 1, my student can get into the hospital, and he can take care of the hospital, and he can take care of the patients. But our industry says our students are not eligible, not good enough to spend time in the industry. It is stupidity. So they should allow our students to come to the hospital or come to the industry and learn the industry. And the third part, as Madam is so stipend, Okay, stipend, if they are doing some course, if it is internship, if it is stipend, then there are so many regulations regarding stipend. Why do we need a stipend? If the student wants to learn something in the industry, let him have 1 year in the industry and let him learn. So what I'm telling is, as long as you focus on content, you will never get industry academia collaboration. You should focus on context. That's what Vishal Sharma told clearly. Vishal Kumar, he told that if you focus on the context, then everybody will focus on the industry collaboration or industry service. And second thing is syllabus. As long as our faculty members talk about syllabus, no, they will not allow my student to go out of the classroom. So syllabus is not at all important. Content is not at all important. Hands-on work is very, very important for industry. Otherwise, our students will be good for nothing. And most of these engineering colleges are closing down because they are not good for nothing. So that is a point we need to take very serious, stringent steps so that my student is good in technique.
Excellent, excellent. And as a journalist, I would say you have given 3 quotable quotes. Content, don't focus on content, but on the context. It's not a collaboration between industry and academia, but the onus is on the industry. And the third part is forget the syllabus, emphasize on the hands-on kind of experience. Mr. Janardhan, I'll come to you next. The point someone also mentioned about research and development, that's also one area where the Indian academia or the universities lack much beyond the, not just the Ivy League, even the other universities, in even the European universities and those, particularly in R&D, where also the industry is deeply involved through, there are incubators, centers of excellences, which sort of focus on these research and development work. So what is lacking? While there are incubators and COEs in the Indian universities also now, but again, not to that extent. Why can't we have a something like an Intel, Stanford, or those level of R&D COEs, and why are incubators also not forthcoming to that extent? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My distinguished co-panelists have made wonderful observations. Dr. Balakrishna Shetty made some very useful points, as much as the co-panelists did mention. Healthcare education in India is probably the most superior. I can hands down tell it is world's #1. Now, what is applicable in the healthcare education? It's not just during college. Even as long as I enrolled to become a doctor, nurse, pharmacist, whatever, there is a good balance of classroom and bedside learning that happens. It's hands-on, and because you're playing with human lives. Now, the same emphasis that is provided in medical education, healthcare education overall, why not bring it to BBA, BCom, or to engineering, which is so huge, mass-based? We produce one of the largest number of engineers in the world, and and they are consumed by industry. Thanks to industry, thanks to the global demand for Indian engineers, all that is great. It's very flattering, but there are industry leaders who come stand in large forums and say 80% of engineers produced by Indian schools are not eligible for employment. Now, I want to ask a question, and most of you also had very big, large campuses. Now, has any job done by a group of engineers, workplace, has it been rejected? Has there been a penalty by a client company? It has not happened. Look at all the companies where jobs are happening by Indian engineers across the world. They are making high profits, huge profits. That means the quality of engineers that we are producing are really, yeah, they may not be great. Everybody cannot be of IIT quality because the input, learning, and the outcome can be different, right? And so, but look at it. Overall, jobs done by these very group of people are not rejected. There is no failure. Companies are not penalized from the client side, which means the delivery has been fairly good or probably good in many cases. This is one part. Now, industry being the largest consumer of the products that come out of colleges and universities, are they not responsible to see that good quality educated manpower comes? And because they are the users. When I'm using in such large scale, industry does that, manufacturers do that. They go to farmers, they say, use this input, I'll give you the seed, I will give you the technology, I'll give you manure, I will tell you how much water, when to water, and measure the output. I will fund your agricultural operations. I'll pick it up from the farm, and therefore I ensure the processed product, when it is placed in the marketplace, it is acceptable across the world. Now, if this can happen in different domains, why can't industry leaders say 1%, 2% of their good employees can be put in academic councils of universities or in colleges? Is that too much that we are asking? Hey, you are consuming thousands. I'm talking of my own campuses, from our own campuses. We send out 7,000 to 8,000 people every year. And there is a queue. People have to wait in queues to pick up our batches of students. Now, if you don't turn up at a particular time, you got to wait for the entire cycle to be over. So there's a huge demand. Yet industry leaders get away with one statements that 80% of people coming out of some schools are not employable, which is not a very healthy statement. It is demotivating. So how are we not putting enough effort? Are teachers that useless? No. Our students, they write CET exams to come into good exams, good colleges. So it's not an easy cakewalk. Parent is not paying money just like that, and students are, they sacrifice a lot to get CET ranks or even into private exam, top scores. It is not easy. Having done that 4 years, it is a struggle. There is so much of academic work to be done. Now, projects, when there is such a light criticism about the process of education, then our own advice should be, hey, young boys, girls, don't look at industry. They have no regard, respect for you and your knowledge. They have no regard for education campuses in our college, campuses in India. Okay, let them hire from wherever they want. You start your own company. Now, this is not a wish. I have worked on it. I personally have taken this initiative. And again, I can't blame every industry. 12 companies heard our plea. They came, established super quality labs in our own campus. Government of India was so impressed. Again, we say government doesn't cooperate, industry doesn't cooperate. No, if you have a good story to tell, industry, government, community, everybody will respond.
Exactly.
So we have a huge startup village. 100 companies are already functional. 12 labs are there. And Government of India was so impressed. They gave a 10 crore grant. And now CSR grants are coming. So things are changing. Now, is it what, can we compare ourselves to Yale? Madam, you said right. Our colleges are 50 years, 60 years, 20 years. We are 70 years. Now, during the 70 years, there is a lot of learning and unlearning. Thankfully, yes, we have been able to place a lot of good people. Answering questions on research innovation, it is very essential. Publications, patenting are again essential. But then, are we able to recruit 10, 20, 30% of our faculty only to do research work? That magnanimity has to come. Now, who has to pay the salaries for them? This is something which we have to discuss. Grants have to come. Somebody has to fund. Now, there is a need. Good researchers are available. Instead of going overseas, they are willing to work for the motherland. But then they've got a family to take care. He's already, a researcher is already 25, 27, 28, 30. He gets married or she gets married. So family responsibilities are there. So there should be a payout, and can 10 or 20% of this faculty, total faculty, can they become researchers? And can the workload also be reduced in proportion to that? It should happen in real terms. So in conclusion, I want to say, speaking for my own campuses, we have introduced the concept of hiring research scholars, pay them, and we are hiring people to look after our specialized labs, again pay them, and incentivize them with a PhD. You work in a particular lab, of say Autodesk lab. 4 years, 5 years you're with us, we reward you, with a PhD, and you take care of the entire lab of say Autodesk. And this Autodesk lab will be useful for all the community, not only our own students, but we are now magnanimous to open up to the entire education community, industry community who can't afford these high-end labs. So I thought for me, this forum is very useful. So whatever we have created, it is not just by us nor for us, it is for the community. We would be very happy to welcome any academic institution, school, college to use the facility that we have And industry, my appeal to industry is they can take a decision. It takes only 1 minute. They have to decide 5% of their workforce, leaders, people who have spent 30 years, 40 years, 20 years in a company, can be given on loan to an academic institution.
Exactly.
That's it.
Got it.
Thank you.
In fact, the next part of the question, identifying the milestones, you have answered two important milestones. One, having industry experts on the academic council, and also the example of what you have done in terms of rewarding an academician with presence or engagement with the industry. On the other hand, I would have a slight difference in the opinion about that unemployability. While that might be a blanket statement, but there is a problem, especially if you see the engineering part. See, engineering in every stream, ultimately the employability, a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer will go and work in an IT company. So that way, ultimately, the education part of the how much it remains relevance that you learn mechanical engineering and you end up working as a Python programmer somewhere. So that is still a question that maybe needs to be addressed. Now, very briefly with each of the panelists, starting with Dr. Chitkara again, the other important part of the discussion today, identifying the milestones. So 2 minutes to each panelist. What, from your institution perspective, are the next set of action plans which you plan maybe in the next 1 to 1.5 year to address this issue?
I think well said by my co-panelists. The one point which is very important for all of us to understand is that the next 2 years is going to be very challenging for us because NEP is in place and we all have to implement it, and there is many verticals which they talk about industry academia interface. So one thing, if you give me 1 minute more, so well said by sir. When we started with this concept 2014, we were very early entrant into the startup system, and we have still 188 companies working in our campus. We are giving the seed money to them. PVs are called and they are getting the fundings from the industry. So we started, the milestone next is that we started the vertical, it is a Curin, Chitkara University Research and Innovation Network, where what we are doing is the teachers and the students, those who have a mindset of research and innovation and they want to do something very creative. So we have given them the different paths to follow, and there they are not getting much load for teaching, but they are focusing on the research. And the result of that has come up that we have already 4,000 patents already done in the market, and the professors have their own companies. They are working and they have their own companies established by them, and they are employing the students as the interns for those companies. So I think that ecosystem have already started. And the second thing which milestone coming to us is that we have in board of management, we have the people from industry. As sir was also saying, that we always have 2-3 people from industry, those who are part of the board of management and board of governors. But now we are requesting the industry that it should be vice versa, that when they have a board of governors meeting, they should have 1 or 2 people from academia into their meetings, board meetings, so that they can understand the pulse of the industry, that what is pinching them, why they are not able to place our students, where is the gap. So if they, both of them are part of those meetings, then they can understand the style of working
Okay.
of the both industries. I think that will be our milestone, which we are started in coming to industries, and 2 of the industries have already ready for it. And the second is the global level. Some of our professors have gone for semester exchange to Germany, the University of Osnabrück, where they are teaching there for 6 months with their industries also, and coming back giving that knowledge to that. So I think that will be the milestone.
Excellent. So the first measure that you mentioned, it's sort of fostering entrepreneurship and more importantly, this encouragement to file patents. That might lead to an often lamented thing that India doesn't have product making companies. That ecosystem, yes.
Just to continue it, that when doing some research, now the nearby, because we are into the industrial area, because into Punjab, so many industries are there in Ludhiana, Jalandhar, and Rajpura and Mandi Govindgarh. So our professors have started going to them and asking them that what are your problems? You don't have researchers. Why you are wasting money in appointing the researchers? We have researchers with us.
Okay.
Students are there. Give us the problem and they will do something to find out the solution.
Perfect.
So now it has started working.
So the problem statement in the light of an industrial relevance. Great. Dr. Raina, again, the milestones for MS Ramaiah University is briefly in 2 minutes.
You see, I think we are at a learning curve now where we have not to look back. We have to be progressive. And some of the case studies, examples of my own university are, we are getting paid internships for the students today, which amount to 25,000 rupees and more.
Okay.
One. Large number of students are getting in fact, when they are in their undergraduate stage and postgraduate, offers from the corporates work with us. We have a technology business incubator, and we have also established a center for entrepreneurship in our organization. Rome was not built in a day. In our 70 years of history, till mid-90s, we were a different country, in fact. And then from mid-19 onwards, we started looking forward. Thereafter, so many changes did happen in our economy, and today we are seen as one of the growing economies. Who are going to be the drivers, the propellants in this economy are the youth of the nation. I'm very happy to share with the audience here and all my very wonderful co-panelists, learned ones, that today's student who demands, earlier it was a teacher demanding. We were not asked many questions in the class, but now this generation is asking questions in the class. We had to go in the library, sit there for hours, see whether this book writes this or not. Today, your Wikipedia is on our lap, palm top. So your library, e-books, -- is with you. What you need? Experiential learning. That's where we are craving as the students and the institutions. So couple of prescription points, medicine 1, 2, 3, is the promoters should come forward in investing in the modernization of the labs and scaling these labs to the best. One. Government has to also play a very important role, but I know you really said when Dr. Murthy was saying government has their own roles. But it is not that everything should be in the same institution. If we can create a consortium in a city which has a population of this many group of people, because in Bangalore, we have already started. I think our government has already taken initiatives of providing the skill labs at various centers. And I think in the state of Karnataka, we have today around 14 such labs, and we are a part and parcel of that consortium. So therefore, no need to have everything at every place. Let us create. You see, when I learned computers, I was in IIT Kanpur. And IIT Kanpur had one Harris system, 1980s. We used to be in a queue to go there. Today, my phone is the best computer of those times.
Exactly.
So therefore, the technology is coming on the doorsteps. It is coming on the... What needs is student's passion in what he wants to do. That's where I give a lot of credit to NEP. People may agree it or not, but NEP gives us flexibility of thought, percolation of the ideas from one segment to another segment. We have an added advantage because we cater to almost 120 different programs in the university, from health sciences to technology, from social science to legal systems, biosciences to the food technology and allied health sciences. We have created electives and give a choice to a student to choose what you want. Now the milestones what you made a mention is, I think the milestone is how we can beat the best.
Exactly.
I think if that is our objective, we all have to work together, not in compartments, but percolate the ideas from the institutions, his institution, our institution. Let us sit together. See, I have this infrastructure. What should you duplicate? You add value to it. I think that is going to be.
So, in fact, the highlight, if I may say, of what you said, is that consortium model and
That should work, in fact. You see, BlackBerry as an example. You know, why BlackBerry made it came, it is just next door to the University of um, uh, in Canada, Waterloo. Waterloo and BlackBerry are the two just neighboring neighbors. And today, where is BlackBerry? No. So therefore, technologies do arise. There is going to be exponential growth, but at the same time, we have to have the sustainability.
Sure.
I think we the people have a courage, we the people can make it. Certainly, there has been a segment of population which came out from the institution like ours, I would say the whole ecosystem of India, who could not get the jobs. Job is not responsible for it.
No,
It is fire in the belly, I
fine.
tell you. A
Yes.
person who has fire in the belly, there are million jobs for him. But a person who doesn't have fire in the belly, even if you give him the good food, he doesn't know how to chew and digest
That's
it.
a more philosophical perspective. While we might keep it for another time.
Absolutely.
We are just running short
So
of time.
thank you
and,
very much. Thank you.
Professor Murthy, your views.
I'm from Satya University for Human Excellence. It just started 4 years back, so we are infant in with respect to compared to Ramaiah or the University of Dayanand University. But our motto is to give the skill sets to the rural people,
Okay.
because now India needs that the service in the rural route, and we are giving education to all the poorest of the poor, free of cost education. From 6th standard to the highest PhD, we are offering free education. In this, already we started identifying the skill sets of the students. Now we have shifted to National Institute of Open Schooling rather than going for a state board. So student will identify their weakness or strength at the standard 9th itself, and they will shift over to their interesting areas. And from that only we started developing the skill, because today's skills set is very, very important. Whatever may be the requirement for the job, we have to provide in all the 360 degrees. Even we have created the opportunities for the students to work. For example, we have an MOU with the chain of hospitals of our own group, wherein life science students, biology, chemistry students will work in the hospital with real-time data sets.
Okay.
At the same time, the students of other will be deputed to other educational campuses, wherein they learn administrative factors or any other teaching skills and everything. So we are providing internship on our own, and the students will be taken back as the employee of our own institution, so that it will be a sustainable model also.
Exactly.
And some students who are interested to learn other like engineering, but of course medical, we are already starting medical college. And our main aim, even for basic nursing, we are morning only, we are conducting classes, afternoon they should spend their time in the clinics. So that, as Balakrishna sir told, the experiential learning, hands-on, has to happen. So unless that is done, students are not capable of handling that. And of course, I add, life skill is very important. Ultimately, they have to win their life. So we are identifying what the life skills, and with value-based education, we are trying to motivate and develop the students'
So we
community.
may say you are justifying the name in your nomenclature, human excellence. So as someone mentioned in one of the earlier presentation, democratizing the access to education and also sort of enhancing the life skills
Of course,
also.
another definition what our Sadhguru is giving, the Satya Sai Baba, is a lawyer joining university from law university will become lawyer. Technological university will become engineer. A medical will become doctor. If you join a Satya Sai University for Human Excellence, you will become divine, God.
Okay, great on that line. Dr. Shetty, your milestones.
Final one word. I don't have many words. I would like to say our faculty are good, our students are good. I've got only one word to say: leave me alone. I respect my teacher, but leave me alone. As long as this particular thing is in your hand, you can learn up to how to go to the moon. This has got the entire technology, which is much more than the technology which was available in 1970s to go to the moon. So my student has got a technology. I respect my teacher, but leave me alone. I know what to learn. I want to know what to write in the examinations. East or West, my student is the best. So give me a chance, he will do everything.
Great. So,
Sir,
no,
adding to his point,
sure.
Chat GPT and Bard will be a great challenge for the teachers of
Ah.
our age.
True, that will be. So, no intervention recommended by
Yes,
Dr.
finally,
Shetty.
finally, what we did in Sri Siddhartha University is each and every student can write mail directly to the Vice-Chancellor. My email ID is there with each and every student. Whatever he needs, he can write to me. And another things, because of the problems in publications, whatever innovation he has got, he can just record in this mobile and he can upload into the YouTube or any social media, and that particular innovation will be there available for everybody. It need not be published in any of the journals, Western journals, where we need to pay and see that it is published, and again we have to pay and buy the journal and read our own article.
Okay, great. So, Professor Janardhan, the last word is with you.
Yeah. The GDP of India or the total earnings of India from services is extremely large. Now,
True.
that success, what we see, earnings from services, employment from services, if that can be replicated in manufacturing, you can imagine instead of 10 years from now, 5 years, India can become number one in the world. Just think of it. Now, we have thought of it. We have put a working model in progress, and I will share that initiative with the leaders here. And after that launch happens, it will be a prototype. It will, 6 institutions in Bangalore, along with the Anand Sagar group, outside our group, have joined hands with us. We'll be touching about 1,000 small enterprises and bring about transformation. The objective is to bring about qualitative change in the functioning of the tiniest business manufacturing enterprise. And so that is something one. That is if that works well, probably Government of India and UGC will say it's something good for replication across India. One. Second is every company that makes profit, 2% of that profit has to be given away as CSR grants. It's a mandate from the Government of India. I would request Government of India to make 2% to 2.5%, and that extra 0.5% should be given away to employees of their own companies who are willing to come and spend time in academic campuses. Now you do that. One, in return, academic campuses, all of you, all of us, we are sitting on something more powerful motivator, which we can give away in recognition for the worth, contribution, time, intellect that an employee spends in our campuses. It is in our hands, and that I can use a little, a word which may not be ego satisfaction. It can happen. It can bring about a huge transformation in the individual. So that is possible. Probably in a closed door meeting, I can tell what needs to be discussed in a private forum, and then we can broadcast. But something where, again, I'm repeating, corporates can set apart 0.5% of their profits, and Government of India should give tax exemption, increase 2% to 2.5%, 0.5% of that extra funds to be made available to be paid to employees who are willing to go and spend time in an academic campus, so that a lot of curriculum revision can happen, research can happen, because they come with he may be only a B or a diploma, a man or woman working in industry, but he comes with enormous expertise, hands-on knowledge. He is much more than a PhD or a DSc.
Exactly. So the second idea is revolutionary, whereas the first action that you mentioned, that might help ultimately foster the product economy, which we always desire. Great. So we will conclude the panel discussion here. And before we conclude, I would request Sangamitra Mohanty, one of the co-founders of APAC News Networks, to hand over a memento of appreciation to all of our panelists. Chitkara. Dr. Kuldeep Kumar Raina. Professor Srikanta Murthy. Dr. P. Balakrishna Shetty. Professor R. Janardhan.